Take a slow, gentle breath. In this space of stillness, stories become more than just words, they become mirrors. If you resonate with tales that awaken insight and stir the soul, you're in the right place. Subscribe to Journey Deeper. Now let the story unfold. The Thursday sun felt intrusive. Maya moved on autopilot, the coffee grinder too loud in Liam's absence. Trash day. She dragged the bins out, wheels scraping the pavement. As she lifted the kitchen bag, something slipped out, a crumpled, pale blue shirt. Liam's. She smoothed the collar. A smear of coral lipstick. Her shade. Siren coral. A birthday gift from him. But she hadn't worn it since Tuesday. Her stomach turned. Across town, Chloe stared at her phone under the cold light of her cubicle. David's message blinked. Conference room. 7 p.m. Bring the Henderson files. Discretion essential. Her thumb hesitated. The thrill was familiar, the secret smiles, the brushed hands, the high of forbidden's want. She typed OK. Two women, drifting in different storms, mistook longing for love. For Maya, it was the ghost of old fire. For Chloe, the sweet ache of being chosen. The conference room at 7:15 p.m. was a glass cage overlooking the city's glittering indifference. Chloe placed the thick Henderson file on the polished table. David stood by the window, silhouette sharp against the skyline. He didn't turn immediately. The silence stretched taut. Asterisk, long day? He finally asked, his voice low, intimate in the empty space. He turned, his gaze locking onto hers with an intensity that bypassed professionalism entirely. Asterisk, you look tense. He stepped closer, his hand resting beside hers on the file. His little finger grazed her knuckle. Asterisk, maybe you need to unwind. Chloe's breath hitched. This was the dance, the plausible deniability, the electric charge beneath mundane words. Later, pressed against the cold glass by the darkened window, his mouth hot on her neck, Chloe felt a familiar hollowness bloom beneath the rush. It wasn't love. It was possession disguised as desire. Meanwhile, Maya sat at their kitchen island, the coral-stained shirt laid out like evidence. When Liam's key turned in the lock, she didn't move. Asterisk, rough day? He asked, shrugging off his coat, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. Maya held up the shirt. Asterisk, this isn't mine. Liam's expression flickered, surprise then irritation. Asterisk, Maya, come on. Seriously? It's probably from that fundraiser last week. Crowded room, lots of hugs. You're imagining things. His dismissal was a physical blow. That night, their king-sized bed felt vast as a desert. Liam's back was a fortress wall. Maya stared at the ceiling, replaying his words, the too easy lie. Conversation had shrunk to logistics. Asterisk, did you pay the electric? The dry cleaning's ready? Your mother called. Tenderness was a forgotten language. Their lovemaking, when it happened, felt like a transaction, hurried and silent, leaving her emptier than before. Rain began to fall as Maya walked, aimless, through the city streets days later. Her thoughts were a storm. She passed a small, almost hidden gate, overgrown with wisteria. A simple wooden sign, Garden of Quiet Understanding. Drawn by an impulse she couldn't name, she pushed it open. Inside it was a world apart, raked gravel paths swirling like Zen Enso circles, Moss-covered stones, the scent of wet earth and sandalwood. An elderly nun, her robes the color of twilight, was meticulously raking the gravel into perfect patterns, her movements slow, deliberate, utterly present. Maya stood under a dripping cherry tree, clutching a slightly crushed rose Chloe had brought her. Asterisk, for strength, babe. The nun didn't look up. Attachment to desire, she said softly, her voice like dry leaves rustling. Asterisk is like drinking salt water when thirsty. The thirst convinces you it will help, but the craving only intensifies, leaving you more parched than before. Asterisk. Maya flinched. Tears, hot and sudden, blurred the perfect gravel patterns. It wasn't just Liam's betrayal that cracked open then. It was the recognition of her own desperate thirst. The late-night glasses of wine that numbed but didn't fill. The flirty texts she'd sometimes send to an old college boyfriend, seeking a flicker of validation. The hours lost scrolling through curated lives on social media, feeling increasingly invisible. Asterisk, I feel hollow. Asterisk. Maya whispered, the admission torn from her. Just then, Chloe appeared at the garden gate, breathless, her umbrella dripping. Asterisk. Maya, I've been looking everywhere. I was worried. She stopped, seeing Maya's tears, the nun's serene presence. Under the weeping cherry soaked by the rain, Maya confessed the lipstick, Liam's denial, the crushing loneliness. Chloe sank onto a damp stone bench. Asterisk. David. She began, her voice thick. Asterisk. He promises. After the merger, he'll leave her. We'll be together. But Maya, she looked up, her eyes wide with pain. Asterisk. When I'm with him, it's electric, but after, I feel like a ghost. Used. And so alone. The shared vulnerability hung between them, heavy and real, in the quiet sanctuary of the rain-soaked garden. The nun simply raked, her presence a silent testament to the possibility of stillness amidst chaos. The path from recognizing thirst to finding pure water isn't straight, nor is it always gentle, but it begins with small, deliberate steps, practices rooted in ancient wisdom, adapted for the messy reality of modern hearts. The first anchor is the sacred pause. It sounds simple, almost too simple. Yet in the white-hot moment before reacting, before firing off that accusatory text, before leaning into that dangerous touch, before swallowing the hurt and turning away, pause. Take 3 slow, deep breaths. Feel the air fill your lungs. Hold it for a heartbeat. Release it fully. In that space, ask yourself the crucial question, asterisk, will this action truly nourish my spirit? Or is it merely feeding my fear, my craving, my need to escape this discomfort? Liam found himself at a client drinks event. Sarah, a vibrant young associate, laughed at his joke, her hand resting lightly on his forearm. The old hunger stirred. He felt the pull to lean in, to fan that spark. But he paused. 3 breaths. The cool air conditioning on his skin. The question arose, asterisk, nourish or feed fear? He saw Maya's face, the raw pain he'd caused. Fear. He gently removed his arm. Asterisk, excuse me, Sarah. Need to check in with home. Asterisk, Chloe, lying in bed, her phone glowing in the darkness. David's message. Asterisk, can't stop thinking about you. Need to see you. Now. The old addiction flared. Her finger hovered over the keyboard. Pause. 3 breaths. The silence of her room. Nourish or feed fear? The ghostly hollowness after their encounters answered, fear. She placed the phone face down on the nightstand, its screen darkening. The craving roared, then subsided, like a wave pulling back. The space created by the pause was where choice, not compulsion, could breathe. The second practice transforms the very nature of connection. Intimacy as offering. This shifts sex and closeness from something we take or demand into something we give freely, without expectation. It's about presence, not performance. Gift, not transaction. It could be a touch, a word, a shared silence, or simply full eye contact. Maya felt the chasm between her and Liam. Words felt inadequate. Dangerous even. One evening, after another silent dinner, she didn't retreat to the living room. Instead, she lit a single beeswax candle, its honeyed scent filling the space. She filled a large ceramic bowl with warm water, adding a few drops of lavender oil. Silently, she knelt on the rug before Liam's armchair. He looked up from his tablet, startled, wary. Without speaking, Maya gently took his foot, removed his sock, and lowered it into the warm water. Her touch was firm, tender, focused solely on the act of washing. Not a demand for confession, not a plea for affection. Simply an offering of presence, of care. Liam froze, then a tremor ran through him. As she washed his other foot, tears began to fall silently down his face. The walls crumbled. It was her, he choked out, his voice raw. Just once. After the Daniels account closed. We celebrated. I felt God, Maya. I felt so invisible. Like I didn't matter. It wasn't justification. It was a broken confession. A raw exposure of the wound he'd tried to numb with betrayal. The basin of water became a sacred vessel, holding their shattered pieces. The act of offering created a fragile bridge back. The third key dissolves the illusion that fuels so much suffering, dissolving the fantasy. Beneath the surface craving for the affair, the validation, the escape, lies a deeper, more vulnerable need. We project this need onto people or situations, creating potent fantasies that promise fulfillment but deliver only fleeting satisfaction and lasting pain. Chloe sat at her small kitchen table, the nun's words echoing. What is the thirst beneath the thirst? She took a notebook, a pen heavy in her hand. Why, David? She wrote. The answers spilled out. Makes me feel powerful. Desired. Seen. Important. She dug deeper. Why do I need to feel that way? The truth emerged, stark and simple. To feel enough. To feel I matter. She wrote those words at the top of a fresh page. To feel enough. She read them aloud every morning. The merger concluded. Success. David cornered her in his now even larger office. Chloe, he said, his voice thick with triumph and desire. Tonight. My place. We celebrate properly. He moved closer, radiating that old magnetism. But Chloe had her phrase, to feel enough. She looked at him, truly looked. Not at the fantasy of rescue and passion, but at the man, ambitious, charming, deeply insecure, trapped in his own marriage, offering her secrecy and crumbs. The allure evaporated like morning mist. He was just a man, flawed, frightened, unable to give her what she truly needed. "No, David," she said, her voice calm, clear. Asterisk, I'm celebrating on my own terms now. The resignation letter was on his desk the next morning. The hunger didn't vanish overnight. Some days the craving for the old drama felt like a physical ache, but its power was broken. She began to tend to the need directly, meditation, reconnecting with old passions like painting, spending real, unvarnished time with Maya. She learned her worth wasn't something David or any man could bestow or diminish. Her body, she realized, wasn't a bargaining chip. It was her temple, deserving reverence, not transaction. A year later, a fierce autumn storm lashed against Maya and Liam's windows. The old house groaned. Maya sat wrapped in a blanket, reading. Liam appeared, holding 2 steaming mugs of spiced chai. He placed one carefully beside her, then hesitated. Slowly, deliberately, he sat on the floor near her feet, not invading her space, but simply sharing the warmth of the fire. His hand rested lightly on the rug, palm open, near her bare foot. Not grasping, not demanding, just asking. An invitation to connection, offered without pressure. Maya looked at his hand, then at his face, etched with lines of regret and hard-won honesty. She shifted slightly, letting the edge of her blanket fall over his hand. A small acceptance. Across town, Chloe sat cross-legged on a cushion in her sunlit apartment. Morning light streamed in. She had lit a small candle. Her hands rested gently on her knees. She wasn't meditating on emptiness, but on embodiment. Slowly, with profound tenderness, she raised her hands and traced the line of her collarbone, the curve of her shoulder. A slow, deliberate exploration, not seeking pleasure for escape, but honoring the vessel of her being. A ceremony of self-reclamation. Sex, once consumed like fast food, quick, convenient, ultimately unsatisfying, began to transform. For Maya and Liam, it became a slow unfurling, a shared bath where words of apology and understanding flowed like warm water over skin. Fingertips tracing old scars, not flaws, but maps of survival. Sighs released, not in the frenzy of taking, but in the deep relief of being truly seen and accepted. It became a ceremony of presence, vulnerability, and mutual offering. As for the coral lipstick, Maya hadn't thrown it away. She kept it, tucked in the back of her jewelry box. Not as a weapon held in reserve, not as a symbol of pain, but as a sacred relic, a touchstone. A reminder of the fracture that let the light flood in. A map, indelibly stained, that led her not to vengeance, but back to the quiet, resilient altar she carried within herself all along. If this story stirred something quiet yet deep inside you, pass it on. It may be the light someone else is waiting for. Subscribe for more stories where the sacred meets the everyday. And remember, sometimes it is in our breaking that the light finally enters.